It's been a bad week for Liz Truss, confirmed by the GBNews poll this morning. Shows 30% point lead for Labour over the Conservatives. Labour on 50, Tories on 20.
Yes, it could be argued, actually, as well, for good news for Sir Keir Starmer, because perceptions of economic management show him in the lead again. Only 10% says a Conservative government led by Liz Truss would be best for the economy. 39% seem to have faith in Labour and Keir Starmer.
Well, let's speak to Professor Matt Goodwin, who's behind all this polling. Matt, good morning to you. I mean, look, this ties in with other polls, doesn't it, to within 1 or 2 percentage points, which, I mean, if nothing else, validates the results. It's pretty grim news for the Tories.
Yeah, we've got a pretty consistent picture this week. After the mini-budget last Friday, we've got leads for the Labour Party of between 20 and 30 percentage points. This is pretty remarkable. Those viewers with long memories would remember the 1990s, the mid to late 90s with Tony Blair and New Labour. That's the last time we saw Labour leads this big. So this is pretty historic, actually, what we're seeing. And I think obviously it underlines the need for the number 10 team and Prime Minister Truss to really get their hands around what is happening in the polls.
As well, because people were asked about the words that spring to mind when asked about Liz Truss's economic policies. And they're not very good words, are they?
No, they're not. The most popular words were rich, rubbish, disaster, and disastrous. Remember, this is a representative poll of the whole country. So we're not just asking Labour voters. We're not just asking Conservative voters. We're asking everybody what they think about many of these policies. And if you drill into the data, I mean, here's the thing. Some of Liz Truss's policies are actually quite popular. People like the idea of reversing some of the tax increases on national insurance, lowering income tax as well. But they don't like, and they really don't like, removing the cap on bankers' bonuses, lowering tax on big corporations. That is not the kind of economic strategy that many voters want to see, especially those red wall voters who voted Conservative for the first time in 2019. So there's a lot for number 10 really to get into here.
People, you say they don't like the strategy. Is it more that they just don't think it's fair? Because fairness, when it comes to these issues, is actually a very difficult issue.
I think you just hit the nail on the head. Fairness is the word that I would choose when looking at these numbers. We had another survey this week that found that only 19% of the country think that the mini-budget, the economic policies that we've seen over the last week are fair. Now, to give Liz Truss some credit here, the energy plan that she's rolled out is widely supported. About 80% of voters think it's a good idea, but it's those other policies that are problematic.
Yeah, and one of the other things to come out of the poll is that people prefer Keir Starmer to manage the British economy in the years ahead than the present government. But he's got absolutely no record, has he, to count on?
No, I think this is a case of oppositions not winning elections, but governments losing elections. And as you say, Keir Starmer is now seen as the preferred manager of the economy. It's important to stress, though, that most voters, a plurality of voters, say they don't know who to back on the economy. So yes, Starmer has a lead, but there is a great deal of ambivalence out there. And I'm sure your viewers would probably relate to this, a sense that they don't really know who should be dealing with these big issues. They're not perhaps particularly impressed by the Conservatives. They're not particularly impressed by Labour and Keir Starmer. And that's what's channeling everybody into saying, you know what, I don't really know who I back on this big question of the cost of living crisis.